Hey everybody, welcome into the Arena Fantasy Discussion Portal. I'm your host, Expat, along with my co-host, Burley. Burley, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Expat?
I'm doing good. So, of course, we're here for another edition of our breakdown and discussions of House of the Dragon. So, of course, episode 8, we're going to be talking about, episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we get into the episode, I just want to let everybody know that there are going to be spoilers throughout this episode. Of course, our breakdowns and discussions are usually spoiler filled. So if you have not watched episode 8 of House of the Dragon, please go and watch it before coming and enjoying our video here on our breakdown and discussion. And just one more thing I want to talk about before we get into the gist of the discussion of episode 8. The Arena Productions YouTube channel, of course, we have now become partners on YouTube. And we now have a members option. So all of you that, of course, watch our content and everything, there is a join button now on our site. So if you're interested in supporting us and supporting our content and, of course, you've been watching for a long time, think about coming and becoming a member. So there's a lot of perks that we're going to be given to you all. Of course, there's going to be custom badges and emotes for all of our members. And, of course, special posts in the community for all of you and everything. And Burley, he's talking about the emotes and everything. So some cool stuff on the way as well. And when we do live streams, of course, there will be super chat and super stickers and all that stuff as well. So we're really excited to bring you that to you all. And so, please check it out. And if you want to support our content, please, hit that join button. So, Burley, do you have anything to say to that? Yeah.
I was going to say, you may want to be joined for a future show might be coming back.
Yes.
Been a fan of the podcast for a while. You'll know what we're talking about.
Yes, when he says the podcast, he means the Arena multi-platform gaming news podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all righty. So, Burley, let's jump into it. Episode 8. Patty Considine, man. I mean, he's an amazing actor. And obviously this was kind of like his swan song. This was the end for him. The job he did was just amazing. And I'm hoping that after this season, they come out with like blooper reels and stuff like that, because I would just love to see him and the hours and hours he probably had to sit in the makeup chair to get zombified like he was in this episode. I mean, and just probably like how he might have been clowning around in blooper reels, like, and stuff like that. Yeah. I could just see it, man, like coming up to Alice and, or something like that, But anyway, let's get to the episode. I mean, it was a great episode again. So obviously, we see Dragonstone again, of course, as well as Driftmark. But what I really liked about the Dragonstone scenes was obviously Jacaerys. He's learning High Valyrian, which is interesting that he didn't learn starting as a young child, but he's still learning High Valyrian. And so you see one of the great halls there on Dragonstone, but also the cool thing about this episode was you get to see an aerial shot of the top of the castle of Dragonstone. So I don't think we really have ever seen that. Even in Game of Thrones, we never saw a view of Dragonstone in that way. And then you go into the mountains there, and then you see, obviously, Daemon. He is going through of course, the caverns there, and you can see the dragon glass. So probably that was exactly where, of course, Jon in Game of Thrones was, of course, mining for the dragon glass. And so Daemon, of course, finds 3 new dragon eggs from Syrax, which was interesting. And of course, he gives it to the dragon keepers to keep warm and everything. And of course, then the word comes, obviously, from Driftmark about Corlys. And obviously, Corlys, he's in a bad state, and they're thinking that he might die because of his wounds from fighting, in the Stepstone still. So what did you think of those sequences, Burley?
Yeah, I like the stuff with Alicent, Daemon, their family there. and him gathering the dragon eggs.
You mean Rhaenyra?
Yeah.
Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
Yes.
Rhaenyra.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Rhaenyra. Sorry, I can't believe I got the names mixed up. My bad, everyone there. Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra going to her sons, being like, "Why are you learning? Like, you do not need to learn this all in one day. Take your time on learning this."
Right, because she's going to be queen for a long time, and they can learn it, and yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Then we go over to the step zones there, and just see. I kind of wish we would have saw Corlys, just him, because they're saying he's like basically on death's door. Give us something. Show us the actor.
Yeah.
Show him. Like, I'm not saying I needed to see the fight and see him get hurt, but show me like him in bed there, just in pain. Give me something, because you see nothing, show nothing,
Right.
see nothing of him, and it's like, is he actually hurt, or is he just gone off to find his son, because they make the allude that his son may still be alive?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So obviously at Driftmark, of course, we get Corlys's brother, who obviously he's thinking of himself and he wants to take over. And he knows that Rhaenyra's children are bastards. And so he doesn't want their blood to be taking over the Valyrian line. So he basically is petitioning to the king, which basically the king is in bed with the milk of the poppy and all, and he's all out of it, of course, King Viserys. And so Alicent and, Otto, the Hand, again, obviously, they're the ones who are taking this petition. And so Daemon basically tells Rhaenyra, we need to go back to King's Landing. Let's go back to King's Landing because, Viserys should be the ruler after Corlys, because that's what, of course, Corlys wanted. And so anyway, we have the council here, obviously, and we see Rhaenys there, of course, and she has her say and all, and you see Viserys there, who's supposed to be, taking over if Corlys dies, and obviously the other Valyrian children from Daemon are, basically from what Rhaenyra is talking to Rhaenys about is we will marry, the sons to Daemon's daughters there, and then of course one will be the queen, and then one will be, of course, the wife of the head of Driftmark. But obviously Corlys's brother has something else to say, and obviously Otto is sitting on the Iron Throne. He's in charge, and he thinks he's going to easily be able to, rule out Rhaenyra's child and give, the seat of Driftmark to Corlys's brother. But obviously, the great scene of the episode, King Viserys comes in, and he steals the show, basically. What do you think of that, Burley? Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You see the high towers just playing and he goes to Alicent, basically being like, we need to let him get in and take that position because he'll back us.
Yeah, and Viserys said to Otto, he's like, I'll sit on the throne today, and which is actually probably the last time he ever did sit on the Iron Throne there. So, and the emotional scene where Daemon, at the very end there, when they're at the swords and everything, he helps him get up to the throne, and the crown falls off of his head, and then he puts it back on his head for him and stuff. I thought that was a really emotional scene there.
Oh, I like that. It shows he still has respect for his brother and likes his brother.
Right.
You know what? They still have that relationship.
Yeah.
I really do like that.
Yeah. But of course, things get heated, and obviously Corlys's brother, calls out Rhaenyra, and of course calls her what everybody's, basically calling her sons bastards, and then he calls her a whore. And of course, before that, Daemon is basically like, say it. He's like tempting him to say it, and of course then he says it, and then of course here in the image here, of course, Viserys, he pulls out the cat's paw dagger, and he's saying, I'm going to take your tongue out for it, but then of course, and I'm not going to show the image of what actually happens after that, but we all know that have watched the episode what happens. Daemon just cuts the guy's head off. Just
and he's
literally.
like, and he says the line of, he can keep his tongue.
Yeah, he can keep his tongue. Yeah. And it's funny how it's a pretty graphic scene, but it's like, then they kind of the camera veers off to Aemon. And Aemon, you see him in this episode, he has become the warrior himself. I mean, he took on Kristen Cole, and he actually, whooped Kristen Cole, in some sparring. And so he's become, the fighter himself. And you can see his face when he sees Daemon just cut the guy's head off there. I mean, you see him kind of like smirking,
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and that's one of the pet peeves I have about this episode and of the series right now is, they've aged the characters throughout this series, but Kristen Cole's character seems like he's still like only like 25, 30 years old. They have not aged him very well in this series. That's just my opinion, but yeah. So anyway, then of course we get to the dinner. And obviously, King Viserys, he wants to go to the dinner and all. And of course, there were some emotional speeches. The king actually stood up, and the real shocking scene was when he takes the mask off, and he just completely looks like a Walking Dead zombie. But he makes the expression, I don't look so great tonight, or something like that, But, then, he talks about how he's so happy that the family, is together again, and that he loves them so much and all. And I respect that about King Viserys in this series, but that was kind of his downfall.
Yeah.
He just, he had too much hope that things would stay together, until the very end. But, you have to give him credit for trying and all, but and then of course Rhaenyra stands up and she makes the emotional speech about Alicent taking care of her father and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. And Alicent, she actually was really moved by that, and she stood up and she says that Rhaenyra will make a great queen. And so you think everything is okay and hunky-dory, there's a little bit of dancing and everything, And but yeah. I have to say about Aegon though, Aegon's just a dick, and he's just a playboy, and earlier in the episode, obviously you see the girl there that he had raped with Alicent, and then they make her drink that tea that Rhaenyra had to drink earlier in the series,
it's like moon tea or something like that
yeah. And so, just Aegon is not worthy of being the king. That's for sure. And, I think, obviously, just my opinion, but Aemon would have made a hell of a lot better, king than Aegon.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Aegon the second, So anyway, go ahead, Burley. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, this dinner scene I really liked. Yeah. Because you get the stuff between Viserys, like I agree, he is just trying, he wants to just have the nice moment and have his family all get along and be together.
Right.
And like you said, I respect that about Viserys.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of too little too late, as we know.
Yeah.
As of everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
And Aegon's a dick, but Aemon's speech,
Yes. Let's get to that. So obviously, Aemon stands up, but before that, of course, the pig comes in, the cooked pig, and then Lucerys is like staring at him, and he starts smirking and kind of like almost starts to break out in laughter because he's thinking about like one of the previous episodes when they were still children. Obviously, Aemon didn't have a dragon yet, and so they brought out a pig as a joke, right? And so obviously that's what teed off Aemon here. And so he stands up and he makes a toast and he says, "They're strong children," at the end. And of course, referring to Lord Strong and referring to them being bastards. And obviously, earlier in the dinner, of course, Aegon was egging on, Jakari's. And Jakari's, he was pretty cool. He was cool-headed, you know. He wanted to punch him in the face, but he just stood up and he made a speech, and then he just like patted him on the shoulder, you know. It's like, you know, hey, you know, and then gave him a little bump on the shoulder too with his fist. But yeah, this was the catalyst here, and then obviously there was a fight that broke out, and then they got broken up, and then of course you see the stare down between Aemond and Daemon, and I thought that was pretty good because that later on, for those of you who have read the books, but I'm not going to spoil anything here, but it's going to get interesting. So yeah. So anyway, let's go on, Burley, to kind of the end of the episode here. This is what I really want to talk about the most, because I thought this is what's going to start everything that's going to happen from next week. But earlier in the episode, obviously, Rhaenyra, she was in the room with Daemon, and she had, you know, introduced, you know, King Viserys to her two new children, obviously, you know, Aegon and Viserys, who will be, of course, become Aegon the Third and Viserys the Second. But anyway, you know, she's talking to him about the Song of Ice and Fire again. Aegon Targaryen, Aegon the Conqueror's dream about, of course, the White Walkers and everything. And she's asking him, do you still believe that? Do you really believe that? Because I don't know if I can be the queen, you know, with all the burden and all of the, you know, the responsibility. It's too much. But at that point, it's like Viserys just was so out of it. You know, he couldn't respond to her. You know, he was just kind of like, you know,
yeah,
in the bed there. So anyway, at the end of the episode, Alicent is there with him in the bed, you know, and she's giving him a little bit to drink and all before he supposedly falls asleep. But, you know, he starts bringing up the Song of Ice and Fire again. And he's saying that because he thinks Rhaenyra is sitting there next to him. And saying that, you know, Aegon, you know, the prince that was promised, you know, you have to do this. You have to go. And you know what, Burley? He was mentioning Jon Snow.
Yeah.
He was mentioning Jon Snow. And so Jon Snow, or Aegon Targaryen, which is his real name, basically, he's making problems 150 years before he's even born. Because at the end of this episode, Alicent now thinks when he was saying Aegon Targaryen, he was referring to her son, Aegon II. And that he's the prince that was promised. And that is not what he was saying. He was talking about the White Walkers and Aegon, the prince that was promised that would go and save the realm. Your thoughts, Burley?
Yeah, like you knew he was talking. He thought he was talking to Rhaenyra. He's meaning they're like the prophecy. Like I get it, they have to bring it in, but it kind of reminds me of bad wounds from Game of Thrones season 7 and season 8. Like you knew he was meaning Rhaenyra's son Aegon, but Alicent, she's grasping for anything, and this was just that. So she just she's using this as an excuse to go, oh, this is what I need to hear so I can make my son the king and I don't have to kiss ass to her, Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
So she's going to use this, as we see in the preview for episode 9. Yeah. She's going to use this to stay ahead, to get ahead.
It's basically called the Green Council. So yeah, I mean, let us know in the comments what you thought of this scene here. Do you think Viserys was actually referring to Jon Snow and the prophecy of the future in this sense? Let us know in the comments, and let us know in the comments what you thought of the episode in general. You know, what were the best parts of the episode for you? And what are you looking forward to in episode 9 next week? We'd really like to hear from you all. And if you're new to the channel, obviously, be sure to hit that like and the subscribe and the notification bell for when we drop a new episode here of House of the Dragon and all of our other content here on the Arena Productions. We really appreciate all of you, and all of you that are returning viewers to our channel. We thank you for your support. So this has been our episode 8 breakdown and discussion of House of the Dragon. So we hope to catch you in the next episode. So next week. So we're getting close to the end, Burley. So only 2 more episodes left of this season. So it's going to be exciting. So anyway.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yep. So anyway, I've been your host Expat along with my co-host Burley. We hope to catch you in the next one. So take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Peace out.